What is going on, guys? Welcome to the first Communication Breakdown podcast with me, Jerry, and Lucky. You guys know Lucky. He's one of Dutch's mods. He's one of the biggest guys in the community. And today, we started to get ourselves a podcast together. We're here as a result of a drunken conversation between myself and Lucky and setting up OBS. Lucky asked for help at about, I don't know, 10 p.m. UK time, and I'd have a few skins. And I thought, you know what, bollocks to it, I'll help him out. And we talked for about 3 hours. And I was like, do you want to start a podcast? And Lucky was like, why not? So here we are. And we're doing it just to shoot the shit with each other, guys. Just to have a chat about things in gaming and just other subjects like music, maybe some current events as time goes on. But essentially, this podcast is just going to be me and Lucky waffling bollocks. So we'd appreciate it if you listen. And hopefully we can grow into something cool where we can have a debate. Maybe in the future open this up to live streaming. But today's topic, as you might have guessed by the title of the video, is gaming influences and history. Around gaming, I might add, I'm going to make sure that I emphasise gaming history, not history as a general. That might be a topic for another day. So, Lucky, mate, we've had a bit of a chat off stream, but we've deliberately not talked quite a lot for this moment to happen, really, haven't we? We've held back on some conversations. So, like, what would you say, like, how did you find gaming, do you reckon?
Oh, I was, just a normal way, like my brother got a Nintendo when I was little. My brother's 7 years older than me, so he was a teenager and I was about like 6 or 7, and you know, that was probably the most gaming I ever played. Before that, we had a Commodore 64, and I would play those games like Choplifter,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
all those cool little games. Um, but yeah, like it was pretty much just like your average way, I guess, an '80s kid got into gaming.
Yeah,
Um,
very similar to
so
myself, mate. Yeah,
and then
very
I
similar.
progressed to like a Sega Genesis later on. All
Yeah, yeah. I had
those
the Mega Drive,
things.
but you had
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Same thing. Yeah, I had the Mega Drive,
yeah.
16-bit. What did I have? You had a Commodore. What did I have? I had a Atari ST.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Uh,
think we had that too. I'm not sure.
um, we also had an Atari. I think it was called an AX, which had a tape loading drive.
Okay,
So we
all
had to
right.
load the games off tapes. Did you ever have one of those
Gotcha.
systems?
We had a Texas Instrument that kind of sounds like it's very similar to
I have a
that.
calculator, bro.
Uh, yeah, yeah, it was actually a computer, like a, a
No
computer back
shot.
then. It's crazy, man. Yeah.
Really? What was it? Like,
Yeah.
what was it capable of?
It just played like cartridges. Like one of the games was Jawbreaker. It was like kind of a rip off of Pac-Man, I think.
Right.
So I was really young when we had that, probably maybe 5, and I don't have a lot of memories of it. I just remember it being there and my brother playing it. Commodore was a little bit more like I remember we used to play like together as a family. We played Jeopardy
Hmm.
um, together and all that, and those type of games.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah,
I'll have
the
to look
Texas
that system
Instrument is
up.
kind of like yeah. I'll have to see if anyone in my family remembers it, what it was called.
If I can, I'll bring one up on the screen. Um,
Okay,
when I put this together of what that system is,
gotcha.
you'll have to put it in a text so I can make sure I've got the right system and put it up on the screen. Cause I've never heard of one. I'm going to look into those after that because like part of this is gaming history, and that you've just opened a part of gaming history I have no idea about. I didn't know
Yeah,
Texas
okay.
Instruments made a console, bro. So like, what was the graphics like on that? Was that like NES style or primitive compared to the first Nintendo?
It was like I said, the game I remember the most is the Jawbreaker game, and that was basically just like a side scrolling Pac-Man type of game. It was like level, like probably 10 lines that were considered levels, and you just try and gobble up the ghosts or whatever they were on that game.
Oh,
Um,
I found. Was it like a mouse chewing a yellow wording of Jawbreaker?
it probably was, yeah,
Oh,
it probably
yeah, I
was.
see it for the Atari 2600. Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like it looks a bit like Pac-Man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that I like I said, this is like
So yeah, is that
30
this
something
is
year
old
old
8-bit
memory.
graphics? Yeah, mate. This
Yeah.
is just what am I looking at, mate? This is Commodore 64. That was 1983.
Yeah, so I probably started playing it when I was like 5 then.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I was born in
Yeah.
'83. So that game was coming out
Okay.
as I was born. That's nuts, bro.
Yeah, I was born in '80, so I was.
It was ported to the Apple II in 1981,
Oh,
and
okay,
it was a game for the Atari 2600 initially. No,
gotcha.
Atari 8, but and the Apple in '81. Then it converted to the 2600, which is like it was one of the more advanced systems compared to the previous generation, from what I can remember. And then the Commodore 64 was ahead of it because it was a 64-bit system, from what I remember,
Right, right,
which offered way better capabilities at the time.
gotcha.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. You had a computer I've never even heard of.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that's what it was called, was the Texas Instruments. Because whenever I mentioned it to my family, they was, "Oh, there was the Texas Instruments computer." I was like, "Oh, okay."
I
I don't
wonder if
know.
that's the Apple II. I wonder if that's what they're calling the Apple II series now.
Hmm. I don't know.
I'm definitely gonna have to look into that, man, because like
Yeah,
that's cool as heck. That possibly US only,
gotcha. Yeah,
which
it
is
might have been.
why it's a bit of a niche system. But this is cool, like, because you've sent me down a rabbit hole I've never even heard of, and that's kind of why we're doing this, man. That's sick. So like, what would you call like the biggest influential game for you, like as a kid, as opposed to like
Um,
now?
so probably it would be for the Nintendo. So I guess I should tell a little bit of backstory. So like,
Yeah.
when I was growing up in New York, I didn't really play video games a lot. Like that's when we got the NES, but back then it was like you're not allowed in the house. When you're home, like your parents like go outside and play. Like you're not going to stay in the house and play, right? So I didn't play a lot of video games. But when I was about 11, we moved to Florida, and it was just a completely different culture change. The neighborhood was different. I didn't know anyone because we had just moved there,
Yeah.
so I became probably a little bit introverted, and I played video games more, and just stayed inside and did more things inside. And the game, like I don't know why I bought it. I just remember going to the store and I saw it on the shelf was Sid Meier's Pirates.
Oh, bro, I
And
love
like,
that game.
yeah, man, I had never seen, like, I didn't even like, you know, look at
Mate,
the
I had
back
that on
much. I was just like,
PC. I had it on
yeah,
PC.
I was like, dude, this looks cool, whatever. I mean, the graphics were what the
Bro.
graphics were for Nintendo. So I brought it home, and actually, I think I had originally bought the Simpsons game, and I didn't like it,
Mm.
and then I returned it and got the Pirates game, and I would play that
Mate,
Pirates game for hours and hours and hours on end,
what a
man.
damn
Just
game that was, bro.
yeah, it was so good. Like I never played anything like it. I'm like, what? I can jump in a ship and go here, and
Yeah, because there was the
like
cannon fights, and you could go to land and like capture ports and stuff like that, from what I remember, and siege ports. Mate,
yep,
my
you could.
memory's hazy of that game. Um, but boy, I had a lot of fun on it. I remember.
It
It
was like
released.
a open world that
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
like,
very
and I
much
had
so.
never played anything like that before.
And you could like pick your
So
pirate, you could pick your ship. And you always started out on a sloop.
yep, and
Always
because you're
started
the
out.
whole point of the game is you're trying to rescue your family that's been kidnapped and buried, and so you have to find like map
Bro,
pieces to find where they're buried and all that.
I couldn't tell you what the object of that game was. I just remember as a kid, going around and shooting ships, and I loved it. I had a lot of fun on that game, but yeah, I don't really remember the story behind it or anything. Not
Well,
at
then
all
we're
what
very
I got
similar
involved.
because I don't think I ever completed that game. I just I just went around and played, like it was just like you said, man, just building up. You can have like an armada of ships, just
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I
like
remember,
traveling
mate.
around the
You
ocean.
like had to do all the resources, the food and stuff for the ship to make sure it could do the voyages you wanted to do and stuff like that. From what I remember. And
Yep.
couldn't you get like rat
Yep.
infestations that would take your foods down and
I
like
think that might have
random world
been.
events?
Yeah, I think that might have been in the PC version. I don't know if they put that in. I don't remember that in the Nintendo version.
It might have been a bit
Um,
advanced for Nintendo at the time, to be fair. Because
yeah, yeah,
I think I was playing that when the first Pentium processors released. Because I was a PC gamer probably before I was a
okay.
console gamer. Like, but that's because we had PCs in the house. We didn't have consoles.
So
Um,
what was your biggest influence? Like, was it a PC game, a console game, or
oh, Secret of Monkey Island, without a doubt, that was like my favorite game as a kid.
okay,
I
all
loved
right,
that game, mate. Point and click adventures. I loved them as a kid.
really,
Yeah, point
okay,
and click like Indiana Jones games. Secret Monkey Island will always be number one. Followed by Secret Monkey Island number two, and then Secret Monkey Island three. I think you've got a pattern emerging here. That's
right,
probably my favorite game of my youth. 100% was the Secret of Monkey Island. I replayed them not long ago actually, and
okay.
it was a blast. And I could remember my way through most of them. I mean, I did Day of the Tentacle. I don't know if you remember that game.
I don't think so. I don't think
But I
so.
replayed that on stream maybe a year ago, and I completed that.
Okay.
That was fun. But these are point and click games from the PC side, and it sounds like you're a console sort of player.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't get a PC until I was like, older, in my like 18 or 19. I built my own. Yeah.
I had a stepdad that was quite the enthusiast on computers.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Nice.
so he had loads of parts and stuff because his job was IT. So
Gotcha.
you get
Gotcha.
parts and bits like that from there, and that's why we play PC games. It was just more accessible and it was easier to do. And because people that he knew, you could get games for free without them being
Okay.
dodgy. Do you know what I mean? Because he knew people that worked in companies because it was a lot smaller back then. Game developers like consisted of a handful of people, not hundreds.
Right.
So
Right.
and the internet was a very small place then. So obviously enthusiasts used to meet on the internet as opposed to just general people. So you
Gotcha.
get to know people and have ins and stuff like that with people in these companies, and yeah, you just get like free demo versions or actual full games and stuff from time to time when I was a kid, which was cool.
Nice.
It was cool, man.
So so did you like progress from console to PC ever, or vice versa, or did you just mostly try and stick with PC when you were growing
I
up?
had a Mega Drive,
Okay.
um, about 1992, I would say, and I had Sonic the Hedgehog for it, and that was about it. That
I
went.
gotcha.
Then I got a PlayStation at about 1994, 1995 with Final Fantasy VII,
Okay.
and that's when I switched over to being a console gamer. As I got into my teens and sort of moved out, it was just more cost effective to get a console than it was to get a
Right.
PC.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Which is when I switched over from PS1 to PS2. And PS2 is when I could say I became a console gamer, and I've been a console gamer since PS2 until this year.
Right. Right.
But um, PCs are a lot more accessible than they used to be. That's for sure. I would suggest
Yeah.
it was very difficult
Yep.
back then to build a decent system that was capable because this was before GPUs really took off. They were there, but they weren't what they were today, and they weren't. I would argue that console gaming was probably better in the 90s than PC gaming.
Right. I mean, we would have never been able to afford it. Like when I moved to Florida, not too shortly after my parents got divorced, and like we were never rich, but we had money. And then after that, like we just never had any money. My mom was a single mom,
Yeah,
whatever. And I would go and visit my dad on the weekends, and I didn't have a console at that. I just had like the Nintendo, but by that time it was Sega and all that.
yeah,
So on the weekends I'd go with my dad and we'd go do some stuff. And then he was 40 something year old guy, and he wanted to go out, like and hang out with a 12-year-old who just wants to watch TV or whatever. So we would go to Blockbuster and he would rent the console for me. Like you could
wow,
actually rent the actual
that's
consoles from
crazy.
Blockbuster back then. Yeah, like Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo. This is before I got my Sega. And I would bring it home, like bring it to his apartment, and he'd go out and I'd spend the night playing like Desert Strike, the helicopter game.
I remember that, mate. Yeah, I remember that game. That was
Yeah.
sick on a Mega Drive. My mate had a.
Yep.
I used to play Mega Drive around my mate's house.
Yeah, I
So
mean
I remember that.
I played that for hours. It was
Yeah,
like, really, really fun game. I played everything. I played Lion King. He would just rent them for me for the weekend, and
yeah.
like I remember, like it was crazy a couple of months ago how like people were talking about how popular the Lion King game is, and I was like, I hated that game. I could never beat that part. Like, yeah,
Well,
I
the
don't know if you ever
platformer.
played it, but yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, I
like
had it on
there's this
PC.
part
Yeah.
you have to outrun the wildebeests, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like I
yeah.
would
I
always just
remember,
get trampled.
bro.
And
Yeah,
I
I
was like,
remember
I
that
hate
shit.
this game. I can't beat this game.
Oh, mate.
So
I remember. I
yeah,
remember that. Yeah, and like Aladdin. That was a really similar game.
yeah, very similar.
I
Yeah.
had that on PC as well. The better games from that sort of era were definitely like Wolfenstein and Doom, Quake,
Hmm.
the birth of first-person shooters,
Yeah.
which is kind of where most of us are, especially in the communities that we know. They're essentially first-person shooters. Uh,
Right.
it amazes me. There's quite a lot. Excuse me. There's quite a lot of people within the community that didn't play these games because they're so new to
Yeah.
gaming, and it's crazy that like how groundbreaking these games were at the time. Like Wolfenstein, I don't know if you know, doesn't actually use 3 dimensions.
Oh
It,
no,
it
I had
uses
no
an
idea.
engine that stacks 2D images to look like the 3D images. and it
Oh,
was game
really?
changing. Yeah, it was game changing at the time. It's what allowed those games to run on very very low processors.
Nice.
By
Nice.
not actually rendering 3D, it was faux 3D. It worked a treat. The name of the engine escapes me. I'm sure if anyone's listening, that will probably shout in the comments as to what that engine was called. I can't remember at this instance. I probably should have looked it up before I talked, but I didn't know this is the way the conversation would go. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was crazy what they did there. People tried to emulate it, and I watched a video not all that long ago about trying to get Doom to run on these really underpowered systems, and people actually managing to achieve it through manipulation as well, like systems it was never designed to run on. Doom
Yeah.
and Wolfenstein, it's great.
You mentioned Doom and like Duke Nukem and those games. The only
Yeah,
reason I know about those games is because my two really good friends at the time when I was in high school had computers. And
yeah,
I would like one of them I basically lived with for a period of time, and he would just let me, obviously play the games. Otherwise, like I'd probably be a lot like the people you're saying, who never played those games because I wouldn't have had access to them.
yeah. With
So
Duke Nukem, do you mean the 2D version or the 3D version?
whichever one would have been like around the mid '90s.
Right, that would
So
have been the side-scrolling platform game Duke Nukem. Because you
okay,
say Duke Nukem to a lot of people, and they think of the 3D first-person shooter, and that's not the original
right,
Duke Nukem. The original Duke Nukem was a side-scrolling platform game.
okay,
It
okay,
just developed when it was brought back by 3D Realms. They turned it into the first-person shooter that it became.
gotcha.
The original Duke Nukem was a classic game. Like Commander Keen is another old platformer from the PC era, which was a great little like you were a dude or a little kid with an American football
Right,
helmet and a pogo stick.
nice.
And the alien invasion was
Sounds like
taking
my
over Earth.
childhood.
Mate, it's great, mate. It's a great game. I bet you'd have a blast playing it, mate.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you had to defend against an alien attack on Earth.
Okay,
I can't
that
remember.
sounds
Yeah,
cool.
Commander Keen. That was his name.
Yeah,
Great game, man.
my friend had he had a game called Colonization. I don't know if you ever
Hmm.
played that. I think that was a Sid Meier game too,
Yeah,
maybe.
it's like Civilization.
Yeah, and I played that for a long time. Then he had Police Quest.
Oh, mate, Police Quest
Um,
was a brilliant. Now you're talking about the Sierra games, mate.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. So I played
sick.
those a lot. Yeah, yeah.
Space Quest, Police Quest, Leisure Suit Larry, King's Quest.
Yep, yep. They
Um,
played all those games.
the two people that made that studio broke away or did an independent game called Conquest of the Longbow, which was quite a good game.
Okay.
Very similar vein to all Sierra games. That was another classic game that I had. Not many people know about that game existing because it's one of those.
Right.
It's one of those cult following games. Do you know what I mean? You got those like movies where you've got like films that have an amount of people that know they exist because they're good, but only to an amount of people, or we're only exposed to a certain amount of people. Whatever. I think Conquest of the Longbow falls into that. It's a great game.
Okay.
Yeah, you played Robin Hood. That's why I wanted to play it as a kid.
Oh, gotcha. Nice.
It just fell into my computer one day. I don't know how it got there. Do you know, I literally I'm a kid, and I could use DOS as a kid and stuff, and that we had a games folder that my dad had created or whatnot, and I'd go into the games folder and just see what was there to play. And one day that was there. I don't know how. I can't remember. But it's a great game. I remember that much, bro. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
there's so many games like I said, I don't consider myself a gamer, but now that we're talking about it, I was like, man, I played a lot of games.
Yeah,
Like it's pretty wild. Like when you look back over, decades of your life and go, oh, I did play. Oh yeah, I did play this. It's more like the most recent stuff I really didn't play. Like when I got into like my friends with high school and everything,
yeah,
they played Diablo, so I was familiar with Diablo, like the original Diablo, and then
yeah,
Diablo 2, StarCraft and Warcraft. They would play. They taught me how to play that.
yeah. Those are all games I
Um,
never played.
and we would take shifts, like play for be three of us, and one would play for 4 hours, another would play for 4 hours, another play, like we
Wow,
just rotate. Yeah.
fair play.
So yeah, yeah. It's
No, that's cool, man. That's
like
cool. Yeah,
okay,
those are the games I never sort of played. Um, I played like Age of Empires and stuff, and like Dune
okay.
2, if you remember Dune 2. It's
Um,
similar to Red Alert, Command and Conquer.
okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Dune, I think Dune 2 is called the Battle of Arrakis. I think that came out before Command and Conquer, but it's basically the same game, just with different makeup, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I played Age of Empires, so I'm familiar with that, but
Yeah,
I
similar
didn't
mechanics to
play the
that.
other ones you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
Command and Conquer was like the first one that wowed people,
Okay. All
because
right.
it was a step ahead of everything else at the time for that nature of game anyway.
Right.
Essentially, it's a war city builder, isn't it? Do you know, that's the sort of genre I would say it is, because you've got to build a city and then you attack the other city. So it's sort of like
Yeah.
Sim City with tanks. Um,
Right. Right. Yeah,
but
I don't know if I'm gonna reveal too much information here, but like Age of Empires, I really liked,
right,
but I would run out of patience for it, so I would like find the cheat code so I could just, you know, end up like, like I just didn't have the time, I'm like I want to go outside and do something, so I would just do to progress the story and see like what happens next and what
fair
happens
enough,
next,
mate.
and I was like I just can't do it. I can't
Mate, if
do it.
there's anyone listening that
Yeah.
played the original version of SimCity, they all used the funds cheat. Do you know what I mean? Everyone
Okay.
did. Everyone did. All you had to do was type, I think it was hold Control or Shift and type the word funds on the
Mm.
original SimCity. I'm not sure if it was ported into other versions of the game or not, but the original SimCity, you type that and it give you like 50 grand or something like that. And if you typed it enough, it would give a natural disaster on the map.
Gotcha.
So at the beginning of the round, you just yam that until it wouldn't give you any more money, and then like yeah, you've maxed out your money and you're not going to get any more disasters because they've all passed. So you let the disasters do their thing, clear up, and then start building your city. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
you're not the first person to use cheat code or a boost code
No, no, no.
in an
But
offline versus computer game because they got annoyed. Mate,
yeah, yeah.
how many cheat codes did you put into Grand Theft Auto? Do you know what I mean?
I was just about to mention I played Grand Theft Auto, but I never really played it the way as much as other people did.
Oh mate, I did the
Um,
back out of Grand
s-
Theft Auto 3,
yeah,
the first 3D version.
what was the one where you're kind of like at the end you're kind of like Tony Montana,
Oh, that is Vice City, mate. What a game that was.
yeah, that was probably the last one I really played like fully, the whole game.
Um,
Well, and that was like a big deal back then because you're having people drive their car around and blow people up and shoot them, and this is still '90s, right?
yeah.
So there's a lot of
Um,
parents against that type of content.
yeah, there was at the time, mate. There was a massive upheaval at the time with Grand Theft Auto games and stuff. I remember at the same time there was lots of backlash against like new metal and stuff like that with Slipknot, and other bands like that. That there was issues they were creating with children and stuff. Like Marilyn Manson had the same treatment.
Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, and it was a crazy time because I remember being a kid and being the subject of what they were saying was being a bad influence on me, and I don't recall the games or the music influencing me to do anything. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Same here. Like I didn't play a violent video game or quote unquote violent video game and then be like, all right, I'm gonna go do this to actual people now. Like it's just never been something that was with me from a kid to an adult.
No,
So it's the I don't know what the word is, like the drama around it is what people are addicted to more than the issue itself.
I think you're
You
right
know.
because I'm like I look at like musical landscape. I'm getting off gaming right now, but I look at like landscape and well, I suppose and gaming landscape, and I don't look at any of those things and think, oh, they're a bad influence. That's going to create people to do things. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Or
Right.
maybe
Yeah. It's
is that because we're a generation that's already lived through it? Do you think? And
yeah. I
realised that
think
it's a load of
so.
bullshit.
No, yeah, I mean, like we're the first generation who really lived with this stuff, right? Like lived with video games to this degree, and we kind of came of age when like video games were coming of age, right?
Yeah,
So it was going from Sid Meier's Pirates to not too much later, like Grand Theft Auto or Duke Nukem or
yeah,
Doom or like that's a huge shift, right? So, but like I don't know, I feel like there's a large part of our generation that's just adaptable to things,
yeah.
and maybe other generation or older generations I know don't really understand that. And it's not just video games; it's culture too. Like we're much more tolerant of than previous generations of just about a lot of things. I think. Um, and I think, like I said, it was we just coming in age, particularly with video games, because it was changing so much. Like I said, it's you just have to live. what are you going to do? Not play video games because you're confused? No, you're just going to adapt and go with it, you know,
Yeah,
which is pretty much what I did.
yeah. Because like I'm looking back at the like the uproars and stuff that were placed against video games and like just certain media in general, and it happened obviously with like Judas Priest and that in the 70s into the 80s and stuff like that, and they were accused of like doing backwards lyrics and stuff, and it's like I, I just don't understand the like why it was like that back then, I guess.
Yeah,
Is it because it never happened before, or
I think there's just it's the culture, you know, like there was an expectation of what life was supposed to be like, you know, back then that just didn't exist for like I don't know if it's maybe our entire generation, but for me, you know, you, like I said, my parents are divorced. You know,
yeah?
I lived almost at my friend's house, and for me, it was just I adapted to the way life was. You know, and before that, I feel like there was just like this is what life is expected to be. So when you have like a Judas Priest or something happen, you know, there's resistance to it for
I
those
suppose
type
it's
of
the first
generations.
time you've seen an English bloke jump up on stage in leather chaps screaming heavy metal. I suppose
Right,
it was a bit
right,
of a
yeah,
shell shock to the system, but like,
right,
and I suppose that led people to believe certain things were happening that weren't. And I guess as
right.
a later generation that's sort of adapted from these sort of lessons, we just don't think like that anymore. And I guess it's given a lot more freedom. Um,
Yeah, yeah, you know, I mean, and with video games too, like, you know, they had never seen Doom before, right?
no,
So like your parents look at that and they go, "Oh my god, it's a chainsaw chopping up, you know, oh that's crazy violent, you know." And we were just like, "Oh, okay, cool. You know, this is something different. Like this is fun." You know,
I've
it
got to
wasn't
say,
like,
I was quite lucky. My parents installed that for me and started
"Oh, really?
it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. They gave me Doom. They gave me Wolfenstein. There
Nice."
weren't any age things back then, not really.
No,
Um,
no, no.
and obviously these games came from a friend that I discussed that was known through the early internet. And this guy could just produce these games because he would get them early and stuff like that before they were even released.
Right.
So Wolfenstein dropped onto my computer before it hit shelves in the UK, and so did Doom. um, and so did Lemmings 2, if you've ever played Lemmings.
I never played. I've seen it, but I've never played it.
Mate, what a game that is. It's infuriating.
Is it?
Yeah, like you can play on easy mode. Like they section it out, and it's like easy, like medium a bit hard, taxing, impossible. And those are basically like
Oh,
if you go onto the taxing or
one of
the
those.
impossible strengths, mate, they're doable. But boy, howdy are they frustrating because some of the like timings you've got to get on the lemmings. Because I'm sure you know the pretense of lemmings just keep frigging walking unless you make them a blocker or something.
Right.
And then like in these later levels, you've got to get the timing right because you might only have two lemons and you've got to finish with both of them or something like that. Um, but it's a great game. You should revisit it. You've got a
Yeah, I'll
PC
have
in
to
your
get a
house.
list of these games that I need to try out
You
on.
do, you do.
Yeah.
How much do you reckon you like spent gaming as a kid, or you just like as and when? Because I was pretty hardcore
Uh,
myself. I play a lot.
I would say like before we moved to Florida, not much. In Florida, just because of the heat, you know, and you're just indoors more. And my mom wasn't home, so I would come home and just play video games. Probably, you know, at least 50% of the time, like I had free time.
Yeah,
You know, except when I got into high school, probably a little bit less because I was in the drum line and we spent a lot of time on that. So we weren't home as much, but
well, you
like
can
during the
drum.
summers, man. Yeah, yeah. I'm a
You're a
once
drummer,
upon a time I was a drummer. Yeah,
bro. That's
yeah,
sick. That's
yeah,
sick. We can make music, mate.
yeah.
I
It
got a
was
guitar.
okay. Yeah, I'll try. My drum set's still in storage, but I'll
Mate,
see
is
what
it a
I can
proper
do.
drum set or is it like E kit?
No, it's a real drum set I bought.
Oh, mate.
It had been a long time since I bought one, so I bought one during the pandemic, and then I ended up moving, so I had to put it in storage and all that. But I'm looking forward to getting it out and being able to.
So like, how good are you?
to
Can you like drum Happy Birthday or?
but like, I mean, it's been a while. Like, we were pretty good back then, you know, like all those years ago. I kind of kept up with it a little bit, but it's more about stamina than anything else with drumming because you have to build that to be good at all. So yeah, but like I
That's
never
crazy, mate.
actually to throw back to video like I've never played Rock Band, and
I'm
I
crap at
know
it,
it
mate.
was
I can't
huge
play
with
it.
Guitar.
I cannot
Yeah,
play it.
Guitar Hero. I was like, I can't play this. This is strange to me.
It
You
was, mate,
know?
because I want to strum. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm a guitarist.
Right.
I like when I play rocks like Guitar Hero. I should just be able to switch my brain off and go no, press the button instead of strum and press the button. But I can't. I want to like play like a guitar. I guess I'm just like can't switch my brain off from playing guitar when I pick up Guitar Hero.
But that makes sense because it's so ingrained in you to do it a certain way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why.
Well, yeah,
So,
because like my approach to guitar is like, okay, so if I'm going to learn a song, I'll see like that's the song and that's the rhythm, but I don't want to play it quite like that. I want to play it my way. So I don't really tend to follow it. So if you like listen to me play along to a song, I'll play it slightly differently because I want to play it
right.
with my own flair and I guess I can't get that out of my brain when I've got a Guitar Hero controller in my hand.
Right. Right. Dude, I already know whenever we do our musical podcast, it's going to be lit. Like we're going to have
Mate,
a
yeah.
lot to talk about.
Oh hell yeah,
That's,
mate! Well,
that's,
a
yeah.
music podcast will probably last a long ass time, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Probably
got a
break
lot
it
of
up into parts.
Yeah, I've got a lot of different genres that I like. Although outwardly I'm a full-on metalhead. I've got so many different
Right.
genres and influences and songs that I love, and people be like, "What? You actually like that song?" And yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
do. But
Yeah.
that's definitely for a different time, man. Like
Yeah, for
myself,
sure. For sure.
like me growing up playing games, I had to end up having a time diary
Oh,
from my
really?
parents, yeah, to keep me in check. Seriously, I'm not even kidding, bro. I had to write down the times. It was fair because it worked. Otherwise, it would have just taken me away completely. But I had to jot down in a diary, and like I had an allotted amount of time per week that I could spend on video games. In the end,
Do you think that helped you like as you got older, like manage your time at all? Or
yeah,
do
I
you
think
think
so
it
because
was
I
just
became an adult and got a job and stuff. Things sort of gaming was still always there, and I would still always play whenever I could, but not as much as I would have as a kid if given the chance. That's for
right?
sure. Yeah, because I think the final straw was when I spent an entire weekend playing.
Gotcha.
Um, and then obviously they could have kicked me off at any point on the weekend, but then let's see how far he goes with this. I guess was the test, and the answer was as long as you'll let me.
Right. Right,
um,
right.
so yeah, I think for my own benefit, that was I hated it at the time. Obviously, why? I don't see why I should do this, but I like looking back as an adult. Yeah, right, they were trying to show me the benefits of grass time, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. See, for me, like my mom just wanted to know I was home and safe while she was at work.
yeah, I
Just it
feel that.
was it was it was like, she probably didn't want me playing as much as I was. And she probably would have been mad if she knew how much I played at my dad's when he went out to a bar, at night or whatever.
You didn't go
But
anywhere though. You didn't go anywhere, mate.
yeah, it's like it was, what am I gonna do? Like I didn't mind my dad going out and because like I got to play video games. Like it
Yeah.
was it was all good for me. So, I mean, he still spent time with me. We still did stuff together, but
No,
it
sounds.
just, it was what it was. But yeah, time diary, man. Phew, I would have forged that thing as much as I could.
Now they knew, mate. It's PC gaming. They know how long the computer's been on. They know how long I've been on that app. Like my stepdad's a bit of a IT genius, mate. You know what I mean? To a degree.
Right.
He was his job was a systems analyst for a big company. So he was in charge of all
Gotcha.
their computer systems and stuff. So he knew his stuff. I knew there ain't no pulling the wool over that man's eyes. Trust.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Console, maybe.
Hmm.
Definitely with a console because there's no way to tell with a console.
Right.
Not to my
So
knowledge anyway.
what did you do like with gaming after high school? Like after like when you were kind of, I guess, out on your own, or did you
I
did
bought
you
a
still play a
PS2, mate.
lot, or
I bought a
did
PS2,
you?
Grand Theft Auto 3. Um,
Okay.
I just put God knows how many hours into Grand Theft Auto 3, mate. Completed it multiple times. Not sure I ever 100%ed it. But we messed around hours on that game. We got the Dodo to fly, which was the plane with no wings.
Okay.
We managed to get that off the ground because we knew it could fly. It was just getting it there, mate. And it was a particular way you had to get it. I don't know if you ever managed it, but if you went to the airport in Grand Theft Auto 3, there was a red plane, red and white plane there with no wings.
Okay.
and it was just a bit of a troll from the devs. But given the right conditions, you could fly it. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, it had to be ideal, and it was cumbersome in the air, mate. Trust me, and it was very, very easy to deck it and crash it, and but yeah, we
Well,
had
it had no
a
wings. So.
yeah, exactly. It was
So-
it was a troll, man. It was a troll. The thing is, if they had
yeah.
they could have coded it to fly because you could make it fly. I would
Right.
imagine. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know why they never
Mhm.
coded it to fly. But yeah, where gamers will find a way, we find a way. It's not like we discovered it. We found out it could be done, and then just did it until we got it done. But we used to play like Pro Evolution Soccer as well quite a lot back in the day.
Okay.
Which was like FIFA, but it was a different version of FIFA. I preferred Pro Evolution Soccer over FIFA back in the day. I'm sure people will think I'm a charlatan for that, but I just preferred it. It was a lot more fun.
Yeah, for us over here it was Madden, like John Madden football.
Yeah, of
was-
course I would imagine, and like Canada, I imagine is the hockey. What about you with when you sort of got into being an adult? Do you know what I mean? Into the real world, what did you do? Did you put gaming on the back burner, or did you have a little console just sat in the corner?
I mean, I still played. Like I had, I had the PlayStation, I had the PS2, I had the PS3, I had the PS4.
Yeah,
So like I always had one, but I didn't spend a ton of time playing them. I would get the more popular games like Call of Duty.
yeah,
I would either buy them or rent them, play the campaign, and then like return it to the store or whatever. Because I was like, I wasn't into first person shooters. I just like the story was cool.
yeah,
Call of Duty, there was nothing like that before, the Modern Warfare ones had come out. Like they were, really cool to play.
yeah.
But I never went online and played.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I just played the campaign. Like I don't even know if I knew that you could go online and play it. Like I just was, I was more focused on like working and doing stuff. Like I played in a softball league, so I was doing that a
Yeah.
lot at the time, stuff like that. So,
Yeah, my first proper like online gaming experience probably would have been on the PSP.
okay,
I got
what
one
was
off a buddy
that?
of mine. A PSP, the PlayStation Portable. It's a
No, I
handheld
mean what
PlayStation.
game?
Oh,
What
sorry, mate.
game
Yeah,
was? Yeah,
SOCOM
yeah.
Fireteam Bravo 2, mate. A third-person shooter.
Oh, nice. I played SOCOM. Like, I had that. It was the one that you got from the headset, like came with the game.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I don't think
yeah,
I ever
for
had that.
PlayStation, I think it was. Yeah.
Oh, Fireteam Bravo 2. I literally used to sit on the loo and play multiplayer, mate. It was sick.
It's-
It was a great game,
nice.
mate. For what it was back in the day, you had like obviously a PSP. What was it, 4.5 inch, 5 inch screen or whatever it was, and to have multiplayer at the fingertips was great. I don't think cheating was an issue back then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I was on a jailbroken PSP. Don't arrest me, Sony. Um, with a ROM running that game. It was sick, mate. I
Okay.
loved well, I jailbroke it myself because to jailbreak the PSP back in the day, there was a specific chip on the battery, and all you have to do is break one of the solder points of it, one solder point, and it would put the PlayStation into service mode when you put the battery in,
Oh, okay.
and then you just sideload it from a memory stick, and away you go. And then put another
Gotcha.
once you loaded the firmware onto it, the custom firmware. Some of them were patched where you could still access online gaming. I think they probably finished that in the end because I didn't do it forever, like. But once you'd sideloaded the firmware, you could then get another memory stick or the same memory stick, if depending if you had an abundance. I had to use two. I had two, and then you just fill that memory stick up with the games. That's it, and it would just boot it from that.
Oh, nice.
It was nuts, mate.
Nice.
I had 400 games or something like this. Is back when torrenting was a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like LimeWire and Napster and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I
Um,
think my first online gaming experience would have been I had a PC. Probably I was like maybe 20 or something around
mm,
there, and Rainbow Six was the game. I
oh,
forgot which
okay.
one. It was one of the first Rainbow Six games. Um, Rogue Spear, I think, might have been the name of like either that was that or that was the expansion for it. And it was the first time I did anything online like that, and I was like, man, this is crazy. Like this is because I used to read the Jack Ryan novels. When I
Right,
was
okay.
around that age, like Tom Clancy, um, you know, Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger, all those type of
Oh,
books.
okay.
So like you end up playing as some of the characters in those books. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
this
quite
is
cool.
this is
See, I've
crazy.
never read the
You
books.
know?
So Sam
Oh yeah,
Fisher's from the
yeah.
books.
Yeah. Did you watch the movies with like Harrison Ford when it was Patriot Games he was in and Clear and
I
Present Danger?
I may have seen those films, mate.
Okay.
If I've seen them, I've seen
Yeah.
them once and don't remember them very well, so I'm not going to commit to saying yes on that one.
Yeah. I gotcha. So like that's like the you know, they call I think that's what they call the universe. Like that's the Tom Clancy universe, right? So
Oh, okay.
um but
See
that
me,
was one of the
go on.
games they had back then.
See, like with me, with like books, I used to read real art, like real soldier stories.
Okay.
So like Bravo to Zero. I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
That was a British SAS patrol that went missing in Iraq in the
Oh,
first
okay.
first Gulf War, and they came back, and one of the squad members wrote memoirs of what happened out there.
Oh, nice.
She definitely
Nice.
mate. They did a show or a film with Sean Bean in it. From what I remember, you should watch it. It's actually quite a good show for a British show.
Oh, okay.
To be honest,
Yeah.
mate, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the sorts of books that I sort of, and that's what sort of that came in hand in hand with playing Call of Duty.
Sean Bean was actually in Patriot Games.
Oh, was he really? I remember.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
he
he
was in
plays
Goldeneye.
he plays an IRA terrorist
No way.
yeah,
Does
he's
he do a
like
really bad
the
Irish
main
accent,
Um
or does he speak
I
like he
don't
usually
remember.
does?
Yeah, yeah, I think he's just kind of like he usually does, you know. But
What? But
he's a
that
good actor. I mean, he's a
quintessential
great
British
actor.
accent
Yeah,
on an Irish freedom fighter. Righto.
yeah.
Love it.
But yeah,
Oh,
it was.
bro. So like
He's a good actor. I like him. He's
yeah,
cool.
Sean Bean is a good actor, mate. He is. He always gets killed though.
Yes,
That's a meme.
yes.
That is, mate. That's a meme.
Yep,
So we
for
sort of
sure.
talked about like what systems we've had and stuff. Like we talked a
Hmm.
bit about like where game like some things that I think are quite notable in gaming, and then we'll talk about like where we think gaming's going to go. I think, mate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think it was quite poignant at the moment. From where gaming has come from is the video game crash of 1983. Do you know anything about that? The Atari crash?
Not at all. Like you mentioned it earlier today, and I was like, I know nothing.
Right.
Sounds a little interesting.
So essentially, the video games started blowing up in the 70s and they got popular and started to be made. And it came to a point where they started using IPs in films, from films to make video games. And
Okay.
it came to the point where they were just pushing out, and tell me if this sounds familiar, they were just pushing out loads of shit games that had poor coding and mechanics that didn't work. And they were pushing these out by the shitload, right? And along comes E.T., the film E.T.
Hmm.
Atari think we're going to make a game on this, and they basically just mashed it completely. They fucked the game up. It was boring as hell. There was like 4 different screens. That was it.
I
Some crap
remember that
like
game.
okay, that particular game. There are thousands of copies buried in the American desert because everyone sent them back. No one wanted to buy it, and what that led to was the gaming crash of 1983.
Okay.
So all of the gaming companies lost their money on their stocks and stuff. Everyone pulled their money out of gaming, and gaming was in the dust. It was dead. It was dying, and it was all because of treating the consumer like shit,
Mm.
and giving us quite a lot of good games to start with, like Pong, Pac-Man, classics like that, Space Invaders. Which led to a massive flood in the market and the crash because they couldn't get rid of these games for love and money. So somewhere in the States, I'm trying to remember where it is, trying to find where it is. Yeah, there's cases that were retrieved in 2014 according to Wikipedia. ET and Centipede cartridges from 1983
Okay.
have been found out in the desert. Now, it took Nintendo to save gaming really when they came out with the Famicom or the NES.
Right.
But something you should know about Nintendo is they started life as a card company,
I think I've heard that before, actually. Yeah.
producing adult playing cards.
Well, they made a good switch, I guess.
Yeah, but now when you like look at how squeaky clean the company is and their their appearance, even to the point they'll take down content creators that play their video games if they don't think it's good for the brand.
Right.
So if you play a video game and you act like a knob playing a Nintendo game, they will DMCA your stream and take it down. It's crazy, isn't it? after starting out sort of like that. I mean, I'm probably what I'm saying is very rudimentary, but that's basically
Right.
the history of Nintendo from what I find out. I'm like, what?
That's crazy.
Oh dear. No, with reference to like going forward, mate, it kind of, from what I've just described, sounds like we're hurtling towards that again, doesn't it? Really?
It seems that like I probably know less now about the gaming like industry than at any point because I just never paid much attention to it. But from what you just said and what my experience like with Call of Duty specifically has
Yep.
been, if you use that as the reference, like yeah, it sounds like
Doesn't
it's
it?
it's a problem.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh yeah.
know?
It's a big problem, and do you know why? Because like the problem is we're waking up, and that's why it's become a problem. I believe player bases are starting to get sick of it. Um, More so in the last sort of 12 months than ever. And it's not like, from my perspective, it's not just because I see people complain about DMZ being shut down, which is what most people probably think because of where I come from as a channel. Um, I go into a lot of chats. I don't necessarily talk, but I watch a lot of video games, different video games. Um, and a lot of players are really getting pissed off with the lack of quality. The just wait and we'll fix it. They're getting pissed off with overpriced games and microtransactions. Um, and eventually it's got to come to a head, surely.
Yeah, I would think so. Like, I mean, there's so much competition for entertainment, for a person's entertainment now. Um, like I think they got a little bit of a boon from the pandemic because, people were home and the competition was, you know, pretty limited what people could do during that.
Yeah,
And now like there's so much like I'm in Florida, I can go to the beach, I can, go hang out with my friends, I can, go
yeah,
to a theme park if I want to. Like there's so many, and that's just stuff I can actively try and do. Like I can sit home and do other things on the on play other games, watch streaming, whatever you want. Like you could never before like you had to like have a certain service to watch a stream. Like there's so many options to watch
yeah.
something now if you enjoy watching something. Um, there's just they're gonna have to do something like particularly maybe Activision. Um, I don't know, like, what's your history with Call of Duty specifically?
I played it solidly, basically since 2007. Um,
Okay,
more or less exclusively. With doubles, or I say doubles, big jaunts into Daisy. Um,
okay.
and then little for like little single player adventures and games like this War of Mine or Don't Starve. I don't know if you know what those games are. But
I've heard of them a little bit, yeah.
they're a world away from games that you would usually see me playing or know that I would
Right.
play. But as a general mate, I'm a hardcore Call of Duty player. Always have been. What about you?
So, did you play multiplayer back then?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah, I
play
did.
online? You did? Okay, you
Yes,
did,
sir.
alright. For me, I only started playing Call of Duty, in 2022.
Oh, okay.
I Yeah, I had never really been into first person shooters. My best friend, who I've known for, most of my life, had been trying to get me to play Call of Duty for the longest time. He's like, "Come on, man, just play. You'll have fun. You'll have." I'm
Right.
like, "Man,
Okay.
I'm not playing that game." Like, because like you hear the bullshit, like you like people you're friends with are like, "Oh yeah, some 12-year-old called me,
Yeah.
whatever."
Yeah.
Like, I
Absolutely.
was like, "Man, I don't wanna bother with that." Like, the hell with that. So I resisted playing it for a long time, and then, in 2022, um, he had been telling me, he's like, "Dude, you gotta check out this Call of Duty thing, it's called Warzone, just check it out with me." And I was like I finally gave in after, like I mean, he'd been telling me for, like, 10 years to try it, Um, and I had just got done playing Far Cry 5, during the pandemic to
Never
just
jumped
something
into
new.
that. Never jumped into
And
that.
yeah, it's like a first it was pretty cool, it has a cool story, interesting, it's kinda like about, the Midwest in America, like,
Yeah.
with, all the political stuff going on. So it's kinda, like, based on that a little bit, but, like, I just I had fun, like, flying a helicopter around the mountains of Montana and all that.
Oh, mate,
So,
nice.
it's just something to do. So I think that kinda led me into playing, at least trying Call of Duty a little bit.
Yep.
And, the first time we played, it was Caldera was the current map,
Oh,
and
wow.
you couldn't like we tried playing Warzone, and you couldn't use anything but the World War II guns, and like that was boring to me. I was like, man, I don't want to like this
Oh,
sucks. I don't
did
want to
that
use
like
it.
I stopped playing Warzone in
Okay,
the first cheating epidemic before Caldera.
right,
So like,
right.
did they just like? I mean, I'm interrupting you to say, did they lock the meta for that once?
I don't. I guess that's like you because Vanguard had come out, I guess, right before that. So they
Right.
just made it so in Warzone, and I mean, I guess it would have been Battle Royale at the time, like, or
Uh,
actually, Rebirth was out when I was playing. So,
right.
but you could only use, on Caldera, you could only use like the World War II era guns. And to me, they sucked. I was like, this is boring, man. I don't want to play this. So we jumped into a game of Plunder, and we ran into this dude who was helping us like figure out what Plunder was, and really nice guy. And he just explained like, what guns you could use where in this. And then I was getting ready to stop playing it because, it was just kind of boring to me. And there was a mode called Clash in that war zone, and
Okay.
it's basically like 30 versus 30 on a certain part of the map, and you die and you just parachute right back in,
Like
right?
Grand
So
War.
it's almost like yeah, like kind of like that. And but it was really fun, and you could use whatever guns you want. So I was able to use like the sniper I wanted to use and all that. And once I started getting the hang of that, I started playing Rebirth, and I
Yeah.
really liked Rebirth, but not too long after that, Fortune's Keep, that map came out, and that's when I learned how to play Call of Duty.
See, I like
I
Fortune's Keep.
lived on that map.
I played Fortune's Keep a couple of times towards the end of Caldera's life because I heard they were gonna like it was over and they were gonna shut it
Right.
down. I was like, I've never dropped that map, so I want to drop that map. And then I did Fortune's Keep as well as a result.
Hmm.
Did they lock World War Two guns the entire time of Caldera
No,
then,
no, it
or
was it was like another week or two after that, they unlocked all the gun, like you could use whatever you wanted.
right? Thank God for
So
that.
oh yeah, I probably wouldn't have played, but after Fortune's Keep came out, I just lived on that map. I just played it, almost hours every day, because this pandemic was still kind of going on, and
Yeah,
I didn't really want to go out and do stuff as much. So when I played, one of the things I really enjoyed about it is when you were parachuting back in, you could no matter how high in the air you were, you could aim down sight on your guns. So I used to like parachute back
yeah,
in
yeah. That was a
and
Warzone One
use a
mechanic.
sniper. Yeah, and I used to and I would snipe people
As you were
from
dropping out of the
midair.
sky.
Like
Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
oh, I have
Yeah, I
so
feel you.
many clips of me doing that, man. It was so
GG's
fun.
man, love it,
So fun.
love it.
Like
It's
it was so
class.
great.
People are like,
Like
what the hell just
it's
happened?
yeah, I sniped one dude. They killed me, and I came right back, and I sniped him out of the helicopter, like from above. And like
Nice,
that's one of my
nice,
favorite
mate.
clips I have. And
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, mate. Like, it's sad
but yeah,
to
that
say,
was my
but
experience. Yeah, that was
it's
that was
sad.
it. That was
No, I started in.
it's sad because you're right. It is sad because it was such a fun game, around that time, and even going like DMZ was you know like a unique experience. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
I used to
was.
tell you when you streamed, I was like, it's just uniquely watchable. There's just something about the mode that makes people want to watch it.
It's because it's fast paced. It's not BR, and people, I believe, are getting sick of BR. BR like
Yep.
viewerships. If you look at BR streamers, are down.
Hmm.
If you look at it, like as a whole, like from BR to start, well, say Warzone starts now back in the pandemic to now, and obviously discount the start of the pandemic because it was a pandemic. There's going to be inflated numbers, but viewership on BRs has dropped from what I know. Especially like certain videos that I watch from certain creators that comment on this sort of thing, um, because people are getting bored of it. I think, and that's where DMZ was a breath of fresh air, like you're saying, because it
Yeah, I
wasn't
mean,
BR. It was a whole different thing. There's a whole different risk factor to it. I still believe it's a higher skill game.
you know, I tell people, I said, man, like for newer players who come in, especially now, like if I don't know how many there are, but like even towards the tail end of it being current content,
Yeah,
um, learning how to play that game in DMZ mode is like hardcore mode,
yeah. I still
because
love it. I still love it. I can't say I don't.
yeah, it's the most like I don't know about you, but I started playing DMZ the hour it came out. I had no idea what extraction shooter was. You know, I knew nothing about
Snap.
Tarkov or any of that type of
Snap.
stuff.
Yeah, I knew nothing about it. Absolutely nothing
Yeah,
about
and
extraction shooter modes.
yeah, and I was like, you know, I played it and I never looked back. I just kept playing it. Like I for the first few months of DMZ, I either soloed or played with randoms.
I
That's
used to
all I
just
did. I
play with
didn't know
Witch.
anybody.
I played with Witch. I
Yeah,
was lucky. I played with Witch. And started watching streamers. I started watching streamers for tips more than anything, and I just never left.
right,
Do you know what I
right.
mean? That's exactly what happened. I fell into watching streams because of DMZ.
Yeah, the first person I watched was probably, I think, Geeky Pastimes,
Oh, really?
because he was doing like informative videos at that time. I mean, I had watched Westy and all those guys play Warzone 1 and Jack
Yes.
Frags and all them, like, you know, and those were really entertaining because those were almost like podcasts, listening to those guys play together and all that. But when I moved over to DMZ, there wasn't a lot of content creators for it, and Geeky was
Yeah.
one of them. He did a lot of informative videos, and then Sinister came and played with him one time, and
Yeah.
then from Sinister, I moved over to Rage, Ezekiel Rage, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
after
Yeah.
Ezekiel Rage, I found
Good
you,
lads.
and
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
how, you know, that was my progress.
See, I
Um,
just found
to
Fix. Fix. That was it, mate. He was the first person on the recommended feed. I never left.
really, really
Yeah. Yeah. I just liked him,
nice.
and Glitchy when Glitchy was doing it.
Okay, all right.
Because Glitchy was a good streamer. He was a good streamer. I know he was at the end of it. He wasn't playing the game fairly, um, but he's a good streamer. Had charisma and stuff, and he was like fun to hang out with and watch streams. Those are basically the two streams that I watched, and then I found other people through word of mouth, like Zeke.
Yep,
I
yep.
found through someone in my chat saying, "Oh, you should like check out Zeke," and I was like, "Who's Zeke?" And then through Zeke, I found Sin. But I would watch Sinister videos before, just like gameplay videos and stuff. But I didn't know no Sinister. I met him through Zeke. Zeke's
Yeah,
sound. I love Zeke.
So the way I met Rage was, I call him Rage Zeke, whatever, but I would, like, you know how I am in the chat. I'm always like kind of
Yeah,
trying to joke around and have fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I was messing, like, trolling, messing with Sin, and Rage came in, and they had known each other a while, and he started messing with them, and like we were just messing with them together. And then I found out Rage streamed, so he was streaming on Twitch at the time, and you know he was making the move over to YouTube. And
Oh, okay.
one day, like one day, he's just like, "Hey, Lucky, you want to jump in for a few games?" And I was like,
Heck yeah,
"Yeah,"
man.
you know, like I'd never done that before. You know, I was like, "Sweet," you know. That's that's
Yeah,
how I ended up like being comfortable enough to progress to the point where I'm like, you know, streaming now.
yeah.
But yeah,
No,
that
you're a
was
good
due to
player, man.
Rage. Like,
You're
yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks.
no, no, you're a good squad mate. I've scored a really fair amount of times, mate. You're a good player.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I learned from you, like watching you,
Yeah,
learned from Dutch,
yeah.
watching
Oh,
her
mate, she's
play. And
cracking.
yeah, she is. She's insane.
She
Um,
is great.
but yeah, like, so that's the thing, right? About that's the saddest part about what Call of Duty is right now is the DMZ community is so unique within the gaming community itself. You
Yeah,
know,
I
like
think
it's
so.
such a, you know, good people, you know.
I do think we convinced ourselves we're bigger than we are.
Maybe,
I do.
probably.
I think that's why the mode went because I like as a collective we were like, how dare they cancel this mode? We love it so much. There's so many of us, and I think like if I'm taking a step back, I don't think there was as many of us as we thought there was. Do you know what I mean? To keep the mode going, and I think that's why it's gone.
Yeah.
I think if
Yeah,
there
I
was
think they
go on.
you know, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was going to say I think if the financial carrot was there, they would have pushed like the higher ups and shareholders would have pushed for the mode to stay.
Yeah, I think they should have done more with it. Like, it was good for what it was, but even when they were developed, they could have done more to like allow for that. I think like there was so many things they could have done with that mode while it was current that they just, you know, all they did was kind of add missions and trying to
Yeah,
sell bundles. You know,
yeah. Essentially, I mean that
so,
that mode was in development from 2017
right?
until we got it. So obviously it was a very slow development stage.
Yeah.
I think that kind of they, I think they pre had most of that content before it was added to the game.
Okay.
Um, and then just did tweaks along the way because like they have at the beginning of any game cycle hundreds of bundles ready to go, stuff like that. So I would imagine that a lot of the content for DMZ was pre-planned before this, way before the seasons.
Right.
And they would have known at season 4 whether they were going to sink it or float it, I believe. And they gave it 4 seasons to see where it went, and that's why support was pulled. That's just my thoughts on it. It seems to make sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's disappointing either way because it's the even if they stop supporting it, the meta it's stuck on right now with the one shot shotguns and the RGLs and all that stuff. It's like it's
It's
really
crazy.
disappointing,
It is. It is.
Um,
Um,
but I still have a ton of fun playing it. Like it's just there's nothing like the what you can like you can do whatever you want really in that mode within reason, right? So
yeah,
um
sandbox game mode, 100%.
yeah, it's
You want to try and be a
like I
taxi
was
driver, you can go do it.
right, like I was helping my friend not too long ago do missions, and I hadn't done them in a long time, so it was actually fun doing them,
Yeah,
you
like
know.
you can offer flights to people across Al Mazrah if you really want to. Just do it in a game
Right,
chat.
right,
You can do whatever you like. That's the beauty of DMZ. You've got a 40-minute window, whatever it is, and you can do what you like with that 40-minute window. If you want to go sit on top of a building and snipe people as a roof camper, you can do that. You want to push people with drill charges and be a sweat, you can do that. You want to be a chopper pilot and offer free lifts to people, you can also do that.
right.
You can go around picking up people that have pleas and being a medic. You can't do that in BR.
No,
None
you
of that
can't.
stuff
And
I've said. Not really.
there's the biggest thing with BR is you're constantly under pressure to do something because the gas is moving, right? So you don't have the like in there's not a lot of relaxing in DMZ, but there's some. So, after a fight, you can just chill for a minute and, go do a mission or, go resupply or whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's not the constant, pressure of a gas moving.
If you spawn with a stealthy as well, mate, the game can be super chilled out if you want it to be.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Even if it's a 2 plate, because you could just pot around the map as slow as you want. You know where the
Yep.
spawns are. Do you know what I mean? As long as you can get out of
Yeah.
push territory, you can have a doddle if you really want. Especially only if you're stealthy though. Every other one, it's twitchy bum time.
Right.
He's waiting for that AUAV overhead.
Right.
Um,
Right. That's a Sheikah now, man. It's like, within what is it, a minute or 30 seconds of the match starting, it's UAV overhead, UAV overhead. It's like, okay,
Go stealth or go home, mate.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
Or if
man.
you just want to fight them, hey, bring it on. Like we'll see what happens.
It's like,
But like at first, I was not afraid of PvP, but I was like, I guess they call it gear fear. But I was never really afraid of losing my gear. I was just solo a lot of times, so I was like, man, I don't know. But now I'm like, let's go. Where are we going, left or right?
yeah, it's because you know the
let's
game
get
inside
'em.
out. It's because, believe
Right,
it or not, mate, we are, I think, 11 months almost to the day since it had an update.
right.
And that's why you are
Hmm.
where you are now with it. And this is the reason I play the game the way I do. And most people play the game. It is just like a different version of BR now. That's what DMZ has become.
That it's a better version, I think.
I think it is. I like the res option. I like the fact there's no buybacks on it.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, you get body campers and stuff, but that just adds to the difficulty of the fight.
Like
I still believe it's harder than BR.
I think it is, yeah, and I always thought they could add like cool stuff to it if they kept it current, like the assimilation thing. Like instead of assimilating, you can just send them back to the lobby with their stuff, like call it an evac or something, right? You res them, and you get something for it, and they get something for it, whatever that might be.
Mate, I
You
like
know,
the truth system, and that was great.
I think it was great. I think it was horribly implemented,
Yes, I
like
agree
the
completely
way
with
they
you.
did. The concept was good, but the implementation was just a mess, which is what they've been doing.
Yeah,
Just
they hammed up like they did with everything, mate. And I think like they're gonna like the devs and publishers of Call of Duty are gonna have to sit up and take notice with X Defiant. Granted, we've had a rocky start today, but that game is
Mhm,
incredibly good. It will be good
right,
going forward. Once they've got it sorted, it's it's going to be a Call of Duty contender. It's not going to be a COD killer. There is only one thing that can be a COD killer, and that is people. No game is going to
mhm,
kill COD. People need to speak with their wallets and
right.
stop saying yes to this stuff. Like, we are not that far away from $100 bundles. Trust me, we ain't.
No, no.
We are not. They've done it pseudo with this get this free cool skin if you spend $100 at the COD store or whatever for the clothes or whatever that was. I don't really know. I know there was some sort of camo for buying clothes or some shit. and that was like $100 worth of merch. So there is $100 bundle technically in the game already. There's the $80 Gorilla Glove,
Yep, that's what I was just about to mention.
brother.
You know,
Well,
I was like, come on, man, like, come on, what are we doing?
like the fuzzy skins, bro. The amount of people I've seen with those new fuzzy skins that offer double XP,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
like without bundle sales dropping, they will change nothing.
Right.
They don't see a reason to. And the thing is, like with player bases dwindling from what Call of Duty's height was, and they're still making more money. It just means more people are buying packs.
Yeah.
Regardless, like so, the player numbers don't seem to affect the profit margins. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah. Like in the first Warzone, they were there, right? The bundles were there, even in DMZ Warzone, but they were relatively inoffensive, right?
yeah,
Like
I'd say so.
they had a value, like that they were worth. Okay, you got this X amount. I don't know if you've ever watched them, but there's this dude Gray on YouTube,
No,
and he does reviews of bundles,
okay.
right? And he's a pretty chill dude, whatever. But like I watched him at the beginning of when Modern Warfare 3 came out, and his frustration grew because they were offering less and less in the bundles that he was reviewing, for
Okay.
more and more money, and he's just like, what are we doing? He's like, what is this? Like he's
So
like,
he
come on,
like
man, like,
yeah, sweet. At least he's being real, mate.
yeah, oh yeah, he's legit, and that was one of the things, like why, you know why are you doing that? There's no reason you do. This is just greed.
Because they're trying,
Like giving
they're
less.
pushing it. They're pushing it as far as they can until they get serious pushback. That's all they're
Right,
doing. They are. That's exactly what they are doing. It's as clear as
right.
day. And people will just continue to buy packs. And I'm not going to knock people buying packs. That's down to you if you want to buy packs. But until the pack numbers drop off, no issues in the game are going to change.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Um,
I mean,
I
there's a pigeon bundle. Like you're like running around as a huge pigeon. Like
like
it's like, okay.
with games like X Defiant coming out, non AAA studios such as Greyzone trying to deliver something really good. Um, and like Arena Breakout just being blatant with their microtransactions. Do you know what I mean? At least it's blatant. It doesn't. I don't know what the costings are or anything like that, so I can't really comment on the microtransactions until I've seen them. Microtransactions in X Defiant don't seem too bad at this point, to be honest with you. And judging by the shots they fired at Call of Duty recently about EOMM and SBMM, they need to be squeaky clean when it comes to that sort of stuff. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think we're gonna you might well see a shift from Call of Duty over the next few years into how they're doing things, depending on how these newer games land. But it's like
Right.
essentially where gaming's going is a shit show at the moment.
Yeah, I was
Where
just about to ask you. I was, because we talked about where it's been, where it is now. Like, where do you see it going? Because
I
you
see
know a lot more about this than I do.
I see a AAA crash coming. Um,
Okay.
and indie studios, I think, need to be very, very careful going forward. They need to start producing quality off the rip rather than early access games. Like I love
Okay.
Greyzone, but Greyzone should not have released. It's damaged the game's. In my opinion, it's damaged the game's potential going forward
Okay.
because it's a fluffed release again, which is like 90% of content creators said in their review videos of the playtest to not release the game, myself included. Because they feared it would be crucified if it was, and lo and behold, it was.
Okay.
Greyzone's initial reviews were so low, it was like red on Steam, do not recommend. And it took quite a while for that to build back up to about a 66% rating on Steam. And it's all because
Okay.
of the game in the state it launched. And this is where indie developers may well fall down when they could take advantage of what AAA game studios are doing right now. Because all of them are just taking the piss. If you look at Ubisoft, on what's the game they're releasing? They're releasing a
Uh,
game real soon. Is it
that's kind of like this.
is it Hellblade?
Oh.
Um, is it Hellblade? I don't know if that's Ubisoft or if that's somebody else. But it's like it's a single player game. I'm probably thinking I've probably got my games mixed up. But they're releasing a single player game at the moment, and it's like there's $120 version with a season pass for a single player game. Why have you got a
Gotcha.
season pass on a single player game?
Yeah, that's messed up.
It's a single player game, bro. What you're gonna give me seasons? like season 1, season 2, season 3, even though it's not it's not a live service game like Call of Duty or PUBG or any of these games where it makes sense to have a battle pass system.
Gotcha.
Do you know what I mean? So why is there a single player game now coming out? And this is what AAA games are doing right now. They are seeing how far they can push monetization onto gamers. That's after you buy the base game, bro. And if you buy the base game, you don't get all the missions. Sorry? It's a fucking one player game. It's supposed to be like an immersive experience and shit, but you're gonna lock some of the content of that game behind a paywall, even though it's a full price game. Are you taking the piss? And this is where the majority of gamers need to be getting to when it comes to these companies, because like Call of Duty, by the looks of it, I'll never have to pay to play again in theory.
Because it's gonna be on Game Pass, right?
Fucking right. So I'll just boat up Game Pass when it comes out, see how crap it is, do a review, and then like cancel Game Pass. Sweet. X Defiant's free, so if that goes down to Swanee, I've lost nothing. I don't see myself putting any money into it. But X Defiant needs to get it right as well, because it's another AAA gaming studio. But it's Ubisoft, and I hear bad things about Ubisoft. I don't really know all that much about them.
Right.
And yeah, indie devs.
I think that's
your time. Go on.
Like, I think that's part of the problem is people, like, people are fed up or feeling like they're not buying a game anymore. They're buying a development of a game. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, there's not a complete game.
No, and no, there rarely is, mate, especially at launch. I mean, X Defiant, by the looks of it, it's server issues, not a game issue as such. They're having server issues. The game itself looks fine and seems to be working. So it's actually, again, like Arena is not too bad. Arena Breakout, that's not too bad as a beta test. Actually, it seems it feels like quite a complete full game. And I think what's happening with that is they are slowly going to full release over the next week or two. That's what I think is going to happen. Because initially, when this beta test started with Arena, you had content creators and some people that had won keys. And ever since then, they've slowly drip-fed hundreds of thousands of keys out.
Okay.
Which leads me to believe they're just going to release a game at some point. So that's a game that's actually relatively in a good condition from indie stroke AAA studio coming out. But indie games just need to get it right. And I think... Go on.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go on, mate.
I was just going to say, so as someone who's like oblivious to this type of thing, like what does a AAA crash look like for, to the outside, to us, like to someone like me? What do you think? What
do I think? What would happen during a video game crash?
Yeah, because you said it earlier. Is you see a crash happening? Like, what does that mean
would see
for the average
value.
player?
You would see value dropping off the companies. You would see shareholders selling up. You would see consumers refusing to buy products or buying less products, significantly less products. It wouldn't stop completely. People will always, an amount of people will always buy video games, and then obviously once the money stops going in to the companies from the consumer, like people stop buying packs, for example, these companies will lose all their value and lose all their strength and crash.
Okay.
And it may dissolve, may completely fold up. It depends what happens. I'm not a financial expert in any way, shape, or form, but that's bare bones what will happen. It will topple like a house of cards if it happens. Very similar to what happens to the housing crisis. Do you know what I mean? Just to video games, and exactly what happened back in 1983 with a video game crash. People will lose faith in what's being produced and companies and just go, I'm not doing it anymore. If no one bought bundles on Call of Duty, that would shock Activision to the core. If no one bought bundles for a month.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it would. Imagine all of that revenue for 1 month stopping. The company would go, oh, and shareholders go, excuse me? What do you mean you haven't made any money this month? Do you know what I mean? And that's when people start pulling their money out. And that's when they lose their financial backing and support. And then consumers, if they stick to their guns and don't buy any more packs, you'll just slowly watch the company crumble because they survive off these packs now. They don't survive off the $70 tag on the game anymore.
Right.
And
especially when they're going to be offering on Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah. And what pisses me off more about Call of Duty is the game itself, including the multiplayer, should be a free experience now because of the monetization model they've attached to it. It is a monetization model copied from Fortnite, which is a free-to-play game. And it's actually copied from so many free-to-play games. It's a free-to-play fucking model. Excuse my language, but it is. But not only do Activision want that out of you, they want your $70 for the multiplayer experience, which is dog shit compared to what it used to be, I might add. X-Defiant's way better. It really is. And maybe that's just because I'm an old fart that's used to like loved old Call of Duties or whatnot, but X-Defiant is a much better 6v6 game.
Yeah, to be honest with you, the only reason I bought Modern Warfare 3, like I got the Ultimate Bundle or whatever, the Vault or whatever,
Yeah.
was $100. But I had like a discount through Walmart or whatever it was,
Yeah.
where I ended up getting it for like $30.
Fair
You know,
enough.
and I was like, yeah, for $30 I'll do it. You know, that's fine.
I got it because of my channel. That's it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That is it, mate. When I started streaming, I didn't even own Modern Warfare 2.
Right.
I was playing
Right.
DMZ on a free account, mate. I didn't want to buy it, but someone furnished me with the code for the game, which I
Gotcha.
graciously accepted. Yeah, of course I will, mate. If you're going to furnish me with a code, thank you very much. And that's how I got
Yeah,
Modern Warfare 2.
awesome.
And basically the same thing reoccurred Modern Warfare 3. But with it going to Game Pass, I won't need to worry about that anymore. But what people like, they need to just ditch that price tag for the game. It's a piss take.
Yeah.
It's an absolute piss take. Like,
Yeah. What it's become, man, it's crazy.
yeah, like
even in the short amount of time that I've played,
Yeah.
it's so different, you know.
From what I hear, COD Mobile is a much better experience. From what I hear, I don't play it myself, so I can't say from first hand. But from what I've heard and seen, COD Mobile is a lot more fun to play, and it engages players a lot longer.
Okay.
Yeah, it engages players a lot longer. But yeah, it's just I think we're heading. I think we're definitely heading for critical mass in the gaming industry.
Okay.
Something's got to happen, man. Like,
so I know you hope it leads to better quality games. Do you actually think it will?
I believe so. Yeah, this is why I'm looking at indie studios, mate, because those are games made with passion and they're good games. Some of them are good. They're just not polished enough, and they need to stop releasing them when they're not polished and they're not ready to go.
Yeah.
Like Helldivers is technically an indie game, but it's backed by a publisher. And I obviously we've seen recently that the publisher seems to have the say until the fans get pissed off in that sense. So I can't really call Helldivers an indie game. But Helldivers is like a monetization model done right. From the last time I played it, you could buy stuff or you could literally just earn it. There was nothing that was locked specifically behind money in that game. You just could grind for whatever you wanted in Helldivers.
Gotcha.
Which was really cool. It was a breath of fresh air. I was like, sweet, good monetization model. Well done, guys. I can pay or not. And that looks to be the same on Valorant.
Okay.
But with Call of Duty, packs that you buy directly affect gameplay, literally. Like, even on the fundamental levels of gameplay mechanics. And you can try and deny it until you're blue in the face and they're not there, but we know they're there. X-Defiant recently, the guy, Mark Rubin, I think his name is, he used to work for Call of Duty and has outright said it's there. A couple of days ago, I couldn't believe he said it. He came out, there's a webcast, and he's talking literally about SBNM and how it's ruining games. And I'm like, wow, he actually just said it. Like, you never expect like an insider to actually openly acknowledge that sort of thing, because it's been very hush. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, you haven't followed it as long as me, but it's been taking about 6 years of people talking about SBNM before Activision even acknowledged it existed. After denying it existed for years, I might add, they then came out and said it's been in Call of Duty since 2007, which is also a lie. It's also a lie. SBMM, as we know it, was not in Call of Duty 4. There was an amount of SBMM in it, but it's very light. You would tell that by the vary of ranks that you would get in your lobbies and prestige variations that you would get in the lobbies. Call of Duty back then was a completely different kettle of fish, mate. Back in 2007, 2008, the multiplayer experience was completely different. It felt natural. It felt good. It was gritty. At the time, it was about as realistic as you were likely to get. And it was a market leader, which is why we are where we are today. Infinity Ward produced Modern Warfare, the original, and then Activision bought them up. I think it was that way around, and then took over Infinity Ward, and that's essentially what broke Infinity Ward.
Right.
and it's sad. It's sad because Infinity Ward were one of the best devs that they had. Now they're the worst.
Yeah,
Um,
and like I remember when DMZ was coming to an end, you know, the development for it, and IW posted like their thank you to the fans or of the DMZ community. Like you could tell they really cared about the mode, you
I
know,
believe the people that
and
worked on it did. I believe the
yeah,
people that worked on on DMZ gave a shit about it. I really do.
yep,
Um, Sag, mate, Sag. But you've got some of the DMZ devs are actually working on Delta Force at the end of the year. I don't
okay,
think Delta Force is going to play anything like Call of Duty DMZ
okay,
at all. I don't think it will. Um, the It looks like it's being pegged to be a replacement. Like for example, I took a quiz, a feedback form. Sorry, mate, on on not X Defiant, on Arena. So it's like satisfaction survey. There we go. I'll get there in the end, bro. Um, and the amount of questions that were based on DMZ was quite surprising.
really,
Yes, I think out of the 30 questions, there may have been 5 linked to DMZ, not Call of Duty, DMZ,
gotcha.
asking
So,
about like DMZ mechanics and stuff like that. And
so they're
like
trying to capture that audience.
I think they're asking questions in this survey linked to Arena to flesh out what they're going to do in Hazard Ops, which is what the mode's called, I believe. I think it's
Okay,
Hazard Ops. Hold on, mate. Hazard Operations. Yeah, it's called Hazard Operations, and it's basically being pegged as their Call of Duty,
okay. So that might be worth checking
or
out.
their
We'll see.
DMZ rather. Oh, we'll see, mate. We were thinking like there's been a lot of hope that like Arena would be a place for DMZ players to go. It's not quite it. Um, in my opinion, Grey Zone is what people wanted DMZ to be at the start.
I see.
It really is. It's like if I think about like I'm talking from a content creator perspective and having hosted loads of chat sessions on stream. And the things I was hearing back in the day at the start about DMZ, what people wanted from the mode, is exactly what is in Grey Zone.
Okay.
They wanted the mission based. They didn't want it PvP focused. This is what a lot of people were like in the chats at the start. A lot of people still like it now. Like, why does it have to be PvP in this game? I hate it. I just want to do missions and chill out with my friends and stuff. And that's what Grey Zone is. It's
Okay.
your mission based game with your squad of mates, up to 4 of you. If you want, you can just go into the PvE mode if you want to do missions. If you want to get sweaty, you can switch back over to the PvP. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of those
Yeah.
players, because I don't know if you were ever one of those players that was like really, really hated the PvP. Because a lot of the players at the beginning hated the PvP with a passion.
I didn't hate it. I just like it gets frustrating like anything else, you know, like you're trying to do something and you just have these dudes who are, you know, going around killing everybody, you know, just for the sake of it, you know, and so I would get frustrated that way. But
Yeah,
once I understood the mode more and I became better at it, you know, and I hooked up with these dudes. One's Irish, another Scottish. You know, we would pretty
yeah.
much squad together for months. You know, and we
Oh,
would
that's good, man. I like that.
get stuff done. But yeah, I mean, I since I learned how to play in Fortune's Keep, I just kind of always, you know, not that I sought out PvP. Like I think when I play with you or Rage or you know that made me more aggressive. Like it took a while to get to play aggressive because I like to snipe. That's
I
how I
love
learned
sniping.
like was the sniping, but
I love
like
it.
I had to force myself to learn to push, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because you can only stay back, and especially in DMZ, because there's no one-shot snipers unless you have a specific build, which isn't the greatest build in the world. And you know, you have to put if you want to get the kill, you have to push,
Yeah, of
you
course you do.
know, and like I was hesitant at first, but once I became more comfortable with it, I really like, you know, with the right team, I like doing that stuff.
Yeah, see,
Um,
I used to get like people complaining about me playing PvP in my chat. I used to get DMs about it. Seriously, I used to get DMs about why am I so PvP
I
heavy?
remember those times. Yeah.
I'm like, what? Um, and that's where Grey Zone would be great for those players, those particular players, because they don't have to worry about that. They can just go PvE, and they can
Yeah.
do their missions and take on the bots with their mates, which is exactly what they wanted from DMZ. and it was a substantial amount of the player base as well. To be honest, from what I know, from what I remember, rather,
Hmm.
it was a lot of people were like, "Why are you just PvP? I hate it." And it's like, well, what else is there to do, bro? Or sis?
Yeah, well, for me, zombies proved how boring DMZ would be with PvP. You know,
Yeah,
it's like, okay, all right, whatever. Okay, well, you can go to this and do that, but there's no threat, unless you force yourself into a threat by going to an area you're not really supposed to be in at your gear level or whatever it is, right? So,
yeah.
um,
I agree. I think zombies is a very easy game mode to play. To be honest, I think once you
yeah,
get it up, it's very hard to mess it up. I haven't played it for a very long time, but that's my understanding of the mode.
yeah, it's pretty much like I played it for a couple weeks, and that was it. I play it here and there. I've done camo grind a little bit on it, but it's to me, it was just like the first of all, the sound still bugged. Like I played it a couple, like I don't know, a month ago or so, and when you're driving the cars, the vehicles, the sound is like 100 yards behind you, and then it'll all of a
Yeah, I
sudden
remember
catch
that
up
being a
and
thing.
really loud, and then like it still does that for me, and I'm like, man, this
What?
is
What now,
yeah, it still does it.
bro? Do you
It's
want to
like,
know what's amazing, right? I put up a video on my channel, right, and this is crazy. I'll tell you the video and its content. So I put up a video regarding an error on Call of Duty. I uploaded that on the 30th of November 2023. Uh, it's boosted to 10k views recently,
hmm.
and this error was the Smith Camp error, which is where you couldn't get into DMZ.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yep.
that error is still present in zombies and multiplayer, and my workaround for Modern Warfare 2 still works on Modern Warfare 3.
Nice.
That's
Because there's a
crazy
copy
to me.
paste. Yeah, it's a copy paste job,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So,
crazy to me, and they had the balls to tell people it wasn't a copy and paste job.
mm-hmm,
Sorry, the same
mm-hmm.
errors there, mate. Uh, and that's like one of my most viewed videos of the last like 6 months, year.
I wouldn't
And
be surprised if the error I got, like I don't know if you've ever watched the video on my stream. It was the first video I really made, like way back, on my channel, not my stream. And I would just randomly get kicked. I would just be running around El Mazi, and this is like season 1 and 2, and I would get a player kicked would pop up, and I have an 8 minute long video of just 10-second clips
no, I
of
think I've
me
seen that
getting
video. Yes,
yeah. Yeah. And so I wouldn't surprise me if that's still part of zombies for people because
that's
I don't think they
nuts,
ever
bro.
fixed it. It fixed it for me, but that could have been just something I did. I don't know. They never said anything about it,
It's just nuts, bro.
and yeah, it's pretty crazy. But I did have a question for you since like we
Go on.
talked about like where you think it's going. What made you want to stream?
Uh, glitchy.
Glitchy?
Yeah, glitchy kind of glitchy and fixate. Inspired me to
Okay.
stream more glitchy inspired me to actually just do it. Like he's the one who went just do it. Like because I was like, dude, you kind of make me want to like have a go at this, and he was like, just do it, Jerry. I was like, okay, sound. Okay, I will then.
Yeah.
And I bought a crappy capture card, and the rest is history. I am where I am now.
How'd you come up with your name?
Geriatric gaming. That was just from years ago, mate. Just me
Yeah.
me just thinking I was an old fart. Like, Christ, when did I put that name on this channel? Years, or no, not no, it was on the channel. It was on the channel first. Then I changed my gamer tag because my gamer tag was my name up until I started streaming,
Oh, okay.
and then I switched it to my channel name. But I switched it to Geriatric Gamer years ago, man.
Huh,
I
okay.
just thought it was funny because I knew I was like having like back problems and shit like that, and I'm like, I'm fucking geriatric, man. Do you know what I mean? Because I've got back injuries, I've got muscular injuries, I've got like my collarbone got snapped and it's fused by 2 inches too far into my body than it should be because I never want to go
Oh.
checked out. I didn't realize I broke my collarbone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just went out for a night in the tiles and I woke up in bed and I was like, cool, shoulder hurts a bit, but didn't think nothing of it, and just went along my life. Just did, and then like I don't know, 2 months later I went for a doctor's appointment or some shit. And I was like, oh, my shoulder really hurts. She went, that's because you broke your collarbone. I went, what? And she went, look at your clavicles on your on your collarbone, and like I actually just stood there and looked in the mirror for like I'm obviously paying attention for the first time in months,
Hmm.
obviously. I was like, oh yeah, my shoulder's a completely different shape.
Whoops.
Oh yeah, I hadn't noticed that at all. Because I'd had a skinful, so I figured I'd just hurt myself walking into the house or whatnot. No, it looks like I probably fell over at some point during the night and hurt myself, or fell over when I got home or something like that and broke my collarbone.
So geriatric gamer is a fit then, yeah.
Yeah, it's mate. My body is like more tired than it should be at my age. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Just
remember like the first time I heard your name, I think Zeke rated you. And he's like, I'm gonna go check out Jerry. And I was like, Jerry, and he's like, geriatric. And I was like, geriatric, like what are you doing? Like who are you rating? What
how
are you
old is this
talking
dude?
about? Yeah,
Where you?
exactly. I was like, what is whatever,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, people find it funny because my tag on YouTube used to be geriatric gamer, but I figured it was a lot for someone to type if they wanted to at me,
Hmm.
and that's why I backed it down to Jerry.
Yeah.
But I had the same logo, so it was a relatively easy transition for people to realize who I was when I changed my
Right.
name. Because a lot of people change their names
Right.
completely on YouTube. Like, who the fuck are you? I was me. I used to be this. All right, okay. But that was cool. How did you get lucky?
Lucky is actually a nickname from my childhood. I when I was growing up, I was in high school. Freshman year, I was a very small person. Like I was,
Oh right, okay.
very skinny, very tiny like kid.
Snap.
I hadn't hit my growth spurt, and so we would. I was in the drum line, and on Fridays we would have our football game. So everyone would just stay after for a couple hours, and we would play basketball.
Okay.
And I had I would always get picked last because I'm a tiny little white dude. Like who's gonna pick him, right? So I had I had really good friends, black, white,
Right.
or whatever, and we would play, and I developed this way because they were all so much bigger than me. They would just block my shots. So I would just like basically bounce the ball to the foul line and like do like a hook shot that they couldn't block, and it would go in.
Oh, nice.
And they were like, "What the fuck?" Like they called me. They started calling me Lucky Charms.
Magically delicious,
So
mate.
yep, exactly. So that's how I ended up with the name Lucky,
Yeah, that's
and
sick, mate.
it just kind of stuck with me. And when I was
Outplaying people,
creating,
mate. Nice.
yeah, so when I was playing like Call of Duty, I had a couple other nicknames throughout my life,
Yeah.
and then one of them was my real name, a variation of my real name, my first
Yep.
name,
Yeah.
and I'd have random people calling me it in the game, like randoms I played with, and I was like, I don't think I like this, I had like people calling me by my name that I don't know, so I was like, I'm just gonna switch it to Lucky, and it ended up working out. Like it's been a good move.
Yeah, it's a good
So
it's a good name, mate. It's definitely a good name
yeah,
for
it's
streaming. 100%.
yeah, it's like, my favorite thing is the insults you get, like, because people get so pissed off. They're like, "You really are lucky," and like, "Oh, good one," never heard that before, right? Like,
Yeah,
come on,
right.
like, "Oh, you're not so lucky," after they kill me, like, "Oh, hey, you got me there." What are you gonna say, right?
Oh
So,
man. Yeah, well, I've seen some of your
yeah.
throwing knives, mate. It definitely pays off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's funny because I worked on throwing knives because I don't think it's great to use on controller throwing knives. They're fine, like obviously, but I think it's probably a little bit easier on mouse and keyboard. So I
Everything's
would
easier
go
on
into
mouse and keyboard,
shipment.
mate. Everything.
Yeah, that's what I hear, but I would go into shipment and just like train myself how to throw the knife,
Oh, fair
over
play.
and
Yeah.
over and over again. Yeah, so that's how I got a little bit better at knives. I still miss a ton of them. Particularly on bots is really annoying because like bots just like shift at
Yeah,
the
they got
last
ghost
second.
movements, bro. They got ghost movement.
Yeah,
They do some like Michael Jackson moonwalk shit going down. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Sometimes you
but
cannot see where knives go. I miss knives because I'm terrible with them, and I need to practice more. But I've only used them a handful of times. I've started using them a lot more recently. Like the last stream I did, I just used throwing knives the whole night, I think, and
yeah,
I missed
they're
basically every
fun.
single one.
My favorite thing about them now is like that's how I try and beat one shot shotgunners.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's it's so satisfying to me to throw a throwing knife at a one shot shotgunner and kill
Well,
them.
it's one hit down to the head knife, isn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes like it's like sometimes I'll end up with a break, which happens, it seemed to be happening more and more, but yeah, like I've had 3 times where I've thrown it from the apartments to the power station and I've either downed someone or killed them with a throwing knife.
I love it, mate. I love
Yeah.
it. That's sick,
Yeah,
man.
it's so good. So
You're
funny.
known,
So
you're
funny.
known for your knives.
I-
You and Dutch are cracked with knives.
Yeah, it's like, so one of them was actually with Dutch, and this poor bastard, man. Like, I threw the knife from the apartment, hit him at power station, and downed him. And I don't know if he got back up or whatever, but Dutch threw a knife from, I think, from like the ground
Yeah.
up to the thing and hit him and killed him, like the same dude.
I love it.
I was like, this dude's gonna delete his game, man. Like,
Oh
he
man,
just,
yeah.
you know, no way.
Mate,
There's
that's
no way he's
incredible.
gonna
I
be
love
happy.
it. I love that.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yeah.
That's sick. All right, mate. I think that's gonna have to be the end of the podcast this time because we're getting on to an hour and 40 minutes. It's a long
Oh
cast.
yeah, for sure.
For something that should have been an hour. But like, sound like, guys, if you're interested in hearing another podcast from me and Lucky, let us know in the comments. We'll be doing them anyway, regardless. But hopefully, we can just create a bit of a following behind this podcast and then launch a channel for this podcast specifically. That's the plan going forward. So yeah, hit the like, guys. Let us know what you thought about the podcast. I'm sure there's going to be people with opinions on our opinions or anything we said. I'm sure we said some stuff that's probably like factually incorrect. I'm pretty sure I have, but I'm a bit tired and my
I'm
memory's
sure I
shit.
have.
My memory's crap, guys. If you know me, my memory's crap. You can correct me on anything I've said wrong in the comment section below. So,
I'm expecting someone to come in and be like, "It's not a Texas instrument."
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Fine. Like,
Yeah,
I was
but
4. Leave me alone.
That's fine.
right?
The podcast is designed to be a conversation point. But keep it civil in the
Right.
comments, guys. If you got this far, thank you very, very much. We appreciate your listen time. And hopefully this is the first of many podcasts going forward. Lucky, do you want to say goodbye to the listeners? Bye?
Yeah. Thanks for listening, and you know, like Jerry said, give us some feedback. As long as it's, you know, constructive. It's been a lot of fun talking about this stuff. So
Yeah, sound. I agree. I totally agree, mate. It's been an absolute blast. Anyway, sign off podcast, guys. Until next time, much love, and we'll catch you soon.